Welcome to Vastu Wednesdays by PHL, a weekly series where we talk about how to incorporate decor with Vastu principles and align the flow of energy. I am Zafar Beg, and with me is Mr. Rakesh Chawla, a very senior Vastu practitioner, and we look forward to walking you through this thought process of Vastu with home decor and PHL. This week, we have a series of questions that have come in from our audience. Mr. Chawla, if you'd be so kind as to walk us through your understanding of these.
Sure.
Can you suggest some easy to incorporate Vastu principles?
Yeah, the easiest way to incorporate Vastu principles is A, keep your place devoid of clutter. There should be no clutter anywhere in the house, especially at the entrance, in your bedrooms, or anywhere else where it is visible.
Right.
So clutter is always, at different levels as I see. One is the physical level or the visible level. So as you enter, you shouldn't see clutter, or you shouldn't see a dustbin, so to say, at the entrance, or a mop, or, the bucket, the water bucket for the mop, or the broom. These are things which are a no-no as you enter the house.
Right.
Secondly, there is clutter of what is not visible. Let's say when you open a drawer or a cupboard, so what's inside that can be cluttered up. It's not that the external clutter is removed and the clutter inside the cupboards and
It's put away in a cupboard. Yeah.
So removing clutter means removing at these two levels also. And interestingly, the third is where one finds it the most, that is in ladies' handbags and in guys' wallets. Because wallets, you don't only just keep the money and credit cards. There's so many chits, there's so many other things which I have seen people carrying with them all the time. So you have to declutter at all levels. That is one. Secondly, one has to ensure that there is good light in the house. The house is airy. And then one would like to see a lot of greenery inside the house. Be it at the entrance or be it in the living area. Greenery is something which is very refreshing, so that is what one can keep all around in every room of the house, so to say.
Yeah.
So these are very easy to follow tips on Vastu. There are no principles per se, but these are, what really helps in enhancing the energy flow inside a house. That is what I feel is way more important than just trying to follow the Vastu diktats to the T.
Right. So a clean house, clean mind, clean heart.
Absolutely. You've nailed it.
Great. So following the principles we've just spoken about, can you share any success stories on customers who have adopted these principles or thoughts?
So Zafar, there are many success stories. There are thousands of them, but just to give you a few examples, which are very common, not very specific to, who benefited. There was this couple and they always had health issues.
Right.
And having been to various doctors and gone through many tests, they still felt that, they're not feeling good or things are not 100%.
Right.
Till they were suggested, why don't you get your house Vastu checked and see if there's something else which is more than what meets the eye. Now when I visited their house and I saw that other things were pretty okay, the energy flow was pretty good, but in their bedroom they were sleeping with their head towards north. So the bed head was in north. Now that's a strict no-no in Vastu because the head of the human body is considered north. And in magnetism, similar poles, they have a repulsion.
Right.
So when you are having two norths together, there is repulsion. In such a scenario, it is very common to have blood-related issues. You'll either have your cholesterols going through the roof, or your triglycerides, or BP, or something or the other. In some cases, insomnia. People can't sleep. So simply by reorienting the direction of the bed, the effects were visible in as little time as 2 weeks. They called to say that they are really grateful.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is one. Like when you keep your head in the right direction, or you should not keep your head in the wrong direction, it has a very a very strong impact on the body. Now, second thing, which is again, I would say it's very common, that kids are, they study normally sitting on their beds. And when they have a study table, the time that they spend sitting on the study table is very limited. So a lot of them, they have tuitions or they go to these coaching centers, etc. But when they come home, what I have found is when kids are studying facing either east or north, the grasp is much better because these are directions of the mind in Vastu. So when you are studying, what you need focus, and the focus comes from the mind. Your mind
Right.
should not be wavering. So these directions, they help to align whatever you are reading, and your grasp is much better. And a very small thing which has a huge effect is that kids, they are studying with a lot of books on the table. Either they'll have a bookshelf above the table, or there'll be books piled up on the table. Now that actually stresses the child.
It
While
would,
you're
yes.
trying to focus on something, and your subconscious, you're also seeing these huge pile of books on either side, or above.
Yeah.
So when any child is studying, there should be no book other than the subject where the focus should be. That's one. And the place to keep the books is in the southwest directions. That is the zone of education. So the books which are kept there, it sustains, or it helps you to grasp the energy from the book.
Right.
So kids who did this, so again the story is very similar, that a child who was getting very average grades in school suddenly
Began to excel. That's amazing.
Vastu is amazing.
That it is. So going back to the earlier thing of figurines.
Yeah. So in such cases also, on the study table, like the Ganeshas you have, if a Ganesha is kept on the table, which is a personification of knowledge,
Yes.
one can certainly keep a small statue of Ganesha on the study table, and it will certainly enhance the grasping power of the child.
Fantastic. We'll be sure to recommend that. So, Mr. Chawla, for our audience who are very new to Vastu and are looking to incorporate its principles, what would be your advice?
You see, those who are new to Vastu, well, I would suggest, first of all, they can follow the basic principles of Vastu, which becomes very easy. Now, basic principles, when I say that, it would mean that while they are picking up a house, they can look at the flow of energy inside the house, which makes it much easier to maintain this flow throughout.
Right.
And for that, there are three things that they have to just keep in mind. A, there should be no toilet between the north and the east.
Okay.
The entrance door can be in any direction, doesn't make a difference. Okay. We can always enhance, one would suggest in due course as to how to enhance the flow if it is not in the so-called believed to be, must be in the between the east and the north. That's a myth. So we will explain that it is not so. The entrance can be in any direction. There should be no, I am repeating, there should be no toilet between the north and the east, or it is very avoidable. Okay. B, the kitchen should be towards the south. It is nurturing, fire, the element of fire.
Yep.
And once your kitchen is there, not only does it bring in tons of prosperity, it also ensures that you have good health. That is second. And the third is the master's bedroom, or the person's bedroom should be towards the west. So it can hinge towards the west, southwest, or the west, northwest, but towards the west. So if these three things are taken care of by anyone who is trying to follow Vastu, they'll see the benefits. And then now, secondly, if someone already is in a house and they find that the things are not in accordance with
This is the question I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
So, for people who are already in pre-existing homes and who are new to Vastu or are renting, what will you advise them if these things are not in alignment?
A, there's nothing to worry. Heavens don't fall if you are not in a Vastu compatible house, because it can always be corrected and energies can always be enhanced. Now, to do that, there are so many things that one can suggest, like you can offset the imbalance by way of using plants, maybe mirrors, or maybe placement of your horses, or the figurines of Buddha, Ganesha, etc., etc.
Right.
So there are many ways in which we can balance the energy flow of areas which are not in accordance to what is recommended.
Right.
So there's nothing to worry. It's a very doable thing. It's like everyone is not born with a perfect health, perfect body. You always have to adapt certain things to enhance.
Yep.
Whether it's muscular strength or your digestive strength, or like whatever it is. So there are always supplements, there are always exercises, there's always something or the other, meditation, breathing. Likewise, there are various ways, there are various items which can be used in Vastu to correct what is not correct.
Awesome. Mr. Chawla, thank you so much for taking the time and explaining to us the principles of Vastu. And I think this will be fascinating for new subscribers. And guys, please follow us on YouTube. And for any further questions, please send them through and we'll be happy to answer them next week.